afternoon and welcome to another exciting edition of Standpoint. I am Veronica Dan-Ikpoyi. Since former President Olusegun Obasanjo released his letter bomb to President Muhammadu Buhari, it has remained the trending issue in the country. The elder statesman addressed the state of the nation, highlighting various areas where, according to him, the Buhari administration has failed woefully. Top on the list was why the federal government has so far responded to the ongoing farmers-headers clashes in some parts of the country. Well, that has claimed hundreds of lives. Obasanjo advised Buhari to forget about contesting for a second term. That is best the president stepped down before echoes of the ovation completely fizzled out. He went ahead to proffer the solution to Nigeria's problems in his letter titled The Way Out, a clarion call for Coalition for Nigeria movement. According to the former president, the way forward for Nigeria at this critical time is for well-meaning Nigerians to put hands on deck and form a coalition for Nigeria, a movement geared towards good governance, social and economic well-being and progress, a coalition to salvage and redeem the country. He stressed that the two major political parties in the country, that's the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC, and the People's Democratic Party, have nothing more to offer Nigerians as they have both had their chances and failed. The 2019 election is just 12 months from now. The possibility of a third force arising and upstaging the APC and the PDP in that election is our focus on the show today. With me in the studio to discuss this is a 2019 presidential aspirant and the chairman of United Action for Democracy, Jai Gaskia. Also in the studio is executive secretary of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum and member strategy and marketing team of the Coalition for Nigeria movement, Tony Uranta. Gentlemen, thanks for coming on the show.
May I just quickly
correct that it is national.
I am the chairman of the strategy and engagement team of the Nigeria Intervention Movement, which is the original nucleus of the third force.
Is the original nucleus of the third
force.
Oh,
yes, because we have, Nigerians are amebos by nature, and we love gossip. So we are presumptors, and we also disseminate information, no matter how fake, before even Trump invented the phrase fake news. It's day-to-day. The Nigeria Intervention Movement started coming together since June of last year.
But it hasn't come, it's not yet made itself formal to the public.
No, it has. It was launched in November of last year.
November of last year.
Yes. In fact, it greatly influenced what President Obasanjo did.
But most Nigerians didn't really get to hear about the movement until now. Yes,
sometimes you see it takes an explosion in another area to bring attention to some area. It took Nnamdi Kanu to come out and make our youths threaten Igbos to bring Southern and Middle Belt leaders together to unite against what they saw as one region's over domination of the space.
All right, now let's get to today's business. So there's some sort of political revolution going on in the country now, and new parties are springing up. INEC says it currently has more than 70 registered political parties. The Coalition for Nigeria movement, spearheaded by Obasanjo, was officially unveiled on Wednesday with bigwigs in attendance. Are we about to see a revolution? What does this mean for our democracy and politics in general? Well, I come to you now, Jaid. Nigerians have said that the current political parties have not done enough. Now, and so they are clamoring for something different. But is this the direction that we should be going, or is this the alternative that we should be seeing?
Okay, thank you very much. I would also like to very quickly make a correction the same way Tony did. I was a former convener of the United Action for Democracy. I'm still a member of the United Action for Democracy, but I've served out my time. So that said, back to the question that you asked, yes, it's very obvious. If you look at our trajectory since 1999, and we have seen a situation where what you can call the quality of governance and the quality of leadership has been in decline since 1999, up to the point where we are today, and the crisis that we have now at the moment, in fact, the kind of paralysis that we have in
paralysis?
Paralysis in governance, because... How do you mean? Because government and the institutions of government have become so dysfunctional that they no longer act, together as a government, and you see it's almost as if you are running several parallel governments within the same governing institution. And when you have that kind of situation, it's not possible for any government to be able to focus, to be able to achieve anything, to be able to even understand what the crisis or the situation is. And we can see that with several issues and instances, security, economy, and the rest of that. Yeah. So, and at the heart of this failure has been the political class, the ruling political elite. They have failed. So yes, Nigerians are actually clamoring. I've been clamoring for, and you can say that this clamor for something fundamentally different really began long before Obasanjo came on the scene, long before the APC won an election in 2015. Because without that clamor for something fundamental, the APC could not have won that election and could not have unseated, a sitting president and the rest of that. So that clamor has been there. Now, unfortunately, in 2015, what was available were repackaged factions of the ruling political class in a new bottle. It's like more like putting wine in a new bottle. The same old wine in a new bottle. And Nigerians felt that actually represented a change, movement forward, some form of progress. But they've had 2.5 years to realize that rather than their yearnings and aspirations being met, that they're actually seeing the crisis being consolidated. And for many Nigerians are becoming very more hopeless now than they were prior to the 2015 general election. So that clamor for change has been there, for something different, which is what is now being called the third force. And so the third force to what? Third force to what people immediately say is third force to PDP or APC. But I mean, it's not just the PDP and the APC, it's also that within the political, you just mentioned INEC says there are about 70 political parties. Yeah, about 50 of those political parties are linked to the APC or the PDP in one way or the other, either people who have been in APC for a long time.
We'll come to that now. I need to bring Tony in. He said something that it's about people clamoring for change, which happened before 2015. And some of these people who were part of those that clamored for change and supported this current government are being found in some of these coalitions that is suddenly springing up. What is different? What changed for this sudden pulling out and finding yourself in a different coalition?
I think most of us were asleep. We suddenly woke up shortly after the swearing May 2015. I'm on record as having been a supporter of Goodluck Jonathan. Sure. But I also am on record as having the very first week of Buhari being sworn in, I held a press conference and stated unequivocally that it's in the enlightened self-interest of every Nigerian, to support the new government to succeed, because its success would translate into Nigeria's success. Unfortunately, the new government seemed to be consumed with a lot of issues, baggage like overemphasis on thinking that critiquing, not criticism, critiquing, even where rightly and honestly done means you are an enemy of the president. In fact, the president started being presented as a cult figure, as a cult leader, the way the president say they are presenting the North Korean leader. For example, he can make no mistakes. But then suddenly we saw that the president or the king was naked.
But he couldn't have done or achieved anything without the support of these persons, like you rightly made the statement initially. So what happened? Did they withdraw their support or what?
No.
What happened?
The point is, we've got to admit one fact. Right from the beginning, the president got it wrong.
Where?
I mean, first of all, you don't take 6 months to put a cabinet together. Nowhere in the world. Nowhere in the world but Nigeria 2015. And when you do put the cabinet together and your theme, which I believed him in, is anti-corruption, you don't bring on very visibly corrupt individuals to surround you. And even when you do that, and then you start seeing that everything is stultifying and not moving at the pace you would like, what you do is you change your cabinet. Even when it was Jonathan, I started a certain anti-ministers movement, and I told him to change his government publicly, his cabinet. Because these things, it's not about Jonathan, it's not about Buhari, it's about my child. It's about me, it's about you. It's about, do we have light? We were promised that when this government comes on board, miracles were going to take place. Rather than go forward, I'll go one step further than Jaya has gone. We have gone far backwards in water supply, electricity supply, roads delivery, so many areas. That is why the third force had to come in. Those people that have moved away from the president are only being seen now as having moved away. For example, one of the president's closest allies, childhood friends, and political friends, Alhaji Buba Galadima, is now a zonal coordinator of the Nigeria intervention movement. But people don't realize that he had moved away from the president shortly after the president came on board. The president's wife is against him.
We can't categorically say that.
Well, the president's wife is critiquing him negatively. We can say that categorically. She's critiquing him negatively. She did it first time. We thought it must be an error. He told us she belonged only to the other room. Now, she has done it repeatedly again. What it means is that people who believe in Buhari have lost their faith in him. I still believe that he can change. Things can change within this last 9 months, which brings me to the point of what is the third force. The third force is not really a force against APC or PDP. No.
But it is about changing the narrative that Nigerians are facing presently.
Yes, there are two forces. There is a pseudo-democratic force that brought in PDP and that sustained it for so long, even when it was crumbling, and that created the new pseudo-coalition called APC and has led us to this precipice. Now, a third force, the second force, is that people have been agitating via arms. We have had issues of self-determination coming up. Nigeria has never been this close to break up in our lives, not even during the Civil War.
Okay.
During the Civil War, 80% of this country stood together against, say, 20%. Now, about 80% are saying they don't want to be in this country.
So what is the third force?
So the third force is a movement that is ideologically driven, that believes in the ballot box, that believes that Nigeria can be changed through mass mobilization of especially the youth, but also the aged, everybody, to change the status quo, the way we see things, the way we do things. And it is not about personalities. It's about the principles, the programs, and the policies.
Now, how does it intend to achieve that? Is it a political party?
No, no, no.
It is not a political party.
No, it's not.
Because the Constitution states clearly in Section 221 of the 1999 Constitution that no association can canvass for votes except a political party. So how does it intend
the Save Nigeria
to do all of
group
this?
changed government in 2011. It was not a political group. That's an example. The threat by the Arewa youths changed the equation and balances of the Nigerian matrix.
Okay.
All without being a political party. You can be a political movement and very strongly influence the direction in which any political party, aspirants interested in politics, or other people that will influence the political equation the way they go. And that's what we intend to do.
All right, we'll talk about how the NIM intends to influence later on, but I need to bring Jaye in. Now, you talked about in 2014 or so, before the new government came in, that it was about repackaging, talking about old wine in new bottles. But what is going to be different? Because amongst this coalition, we're seeing same things.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that's the point that I need to make very clearly now. So Nigerians have been clamoring for change, and Nigerians want something fundamentally different from what they have been experiencing. So the first thing I'm going to say is about Obasanjo's intervention and some of the coalitions that we're beginning to see, is that first, that intervention is a sign of panic. It's a manifestation of panic within amongst the top echelon of the ruling elite. It's because they sense that there is a crisis that is looming. They know that this government is underperforming, and that because it is underperforming and the crises are piling up, that this crisis will get to a breaking point. So they know this. Now, so the intervention that is being made right now is to find a way to, you know, I call it to try to manage the succession crisis. That's what that intervention is about. And that's why they are building a coalition for Nigeria. That's what they have always done, building coalitions for Nigeria, not coalitions of Nigerians, not movements of Nigerians, but they have assumed that they are the perpetual leaders of Nigeria.
And they know what Nigerians
well, they really don't understand, because governments cannot be failing all of these years, all these decades, if the leadership actually really understands what Nigerians need. But, I mean, they are the ones that control power and the rest of that. And so they have assumed that authority. And every time there's going to be a crisis, they intervene to try to manage the succession, so that what they might call maybe something like a revolutionary crisis or something does not come up.
So this is not a solution in itself?
Absolutely, because you see, it's the same people. It's the same people who are going there. Nothing has changed. That's why the point about ideological content matters. Nothing has changed. People, the same people, they have not changed the way, not in terms of their understanding of governance in Nigeria, in terms of their attitude to governance, in terms of the basic questions in Nigeria, what's been their attitude and the rest of that. It has not changed. So that's not going to be the solution now. For me, Nigerians have been clamoring for change. Nigerians should see themselves as agents of that change. And the place where it begins, really, where it begins is that you cannot be politically active. You cannot be politically impactful if you are not a registered voter. Because your PVC is your weapon. If you're not a registered voter, and look at our history. Since 1999, elections in Nigeria, the Nigerian elections, when you go through it, in 2015, you had 58 million Nigerians who collected PVC. Of those 58 million, 28 million came out to vote. Of the 28 million who came out to vote, 15 million elected the president out of a population of 180 million. In this country, we should, going by our population projections and the rest of that, the demographics, youth bulge and the rest of that, we should not have less than 100 million people on the voters register who should vote. So we cannot continue to just to be the victims of bad governance and to continue to just talk on the sidelines.
Exactly.
We need to get to the point where we're actually part of it, and that's why, there are a number of efforts. I mean, I'm aware of NIM. I participate in NIM activities. I'm aware of NIM. I'm also part of other several efforts. There is Take Back Nigeria, for example, which actually calls itself a political movement also, which wants to actually also field candidates, which the same thing NIM is also saying in terms of, look, we would support and endorse candidates, that are for Nigeria, that have certain values and the rest of that. And those are the things that we really need to begin to talk about now. Ask these elements that are moving around. They are featured in governance throughout 1999, and they are not bringing any new ideas to the table.
Don't Nigerians deserve better?
Oh, exactly. Nigeria certainly deserve better.
All right, let's go on the short break and the discussion continues. Stay with us. All right, you're still watching Standpoint, and the Nigerian Intervention Movement, NIM, is gearing up to launch a political movement as well. Young and dynamic individuals are showing interest in contesting political offices this time around. There's has been a political awakening. So I come to you now, Tony. You're a member of this group steering this ship. How does it intend to strategically contribute to the emergence of a new political party or a political force in 2019?
Let me take off from where Jai stopped just before you went on break. Yes, for decades, we've been under the control of the class of '66, the soldiers that took over power in '66, whether in January or in July. They are still called the fathers of this nation. And we often wait for where they direct us towards before we make moves. The Nigeria Intervention Movement calculatedly and decisively decided to break that cycle.
How? We
started this movement without what you'd call the normal old breed. We have people more like the Olisagbakobas, the Pat Utomis. In fact, the only old politician that we have there is not really an old man, but yes, he's part of the old breed, Donald Duke, but he's part of what is considered the progressive old breed. And we did realize that you need an input from every sector of the society.
But Nigerians see these people and, appraise them based on their performances, previous performance, and feel that, no, we deserve better.
Oh, well, Donald generally is appraised as having performed well in Cross River State. I mean, whether that's so or not, it's up to the Cross Riverians to decide and hail or upbraid him. But one thing we did, for example, I'm not really sure why I'm here today, because though I am the chairman of the Strategy and Engagement Committee that sit down to decide how we move, we had strategically handed this whole movement over to the youth. We have Dayo Israel, we have Wale Ajani, we have a lot of young men and women from Ibrahim Bunu, others from across Nigeria. Nazir Kura, he is even a bit of our older breed, older young breed. But one of the ways, for example, I totally buy into what Jaye said. The major need and forced pressure is going to make Nigerians register to vote. Make Nigerians own and value their PVCs. For example, we are going to, towards the end of this month, we are going to invite all coalitions, all groups, all like-minded individuals, groups and parties to a quasi-summit where we hope we'll be able to coalesce into one force. But in the meantime, NIM will continue a certain process. One of the things we're going to do, hopefully in March, is hold what will be a mega music concert. We'll bring in superstars, maybe one or two from outside the country. But we're not charging any fees. Your entrance fee will be your PVC. If your PVC is not, if they check the photograph, it does not match your face, you cannot enter. So unless you have a genuine PVC, you can't attend that. We are also trying to team up with churches and mosques and tell their members to have, even if it's once a week or once a month, have a PVC service where every member who has a PVC will stand up and show his PVC and will get special blessings from the imam or the pastor. Because God himself likes order. And we don't have order if we have no control over our lives. We cannot control our lives or keep agonizing when we could better organize and take control of our destinies by simply being in charge of the elections. Now, when a critical mass of the people vote, you cannot rig. I mean, this is a fact. Let's say there are 20 of us here, and 14 of us go out and vote. The man that comes in to rig is going to be opposed by 14 people. Only part of the 6 will support him. I don't see how he's going to beat 14. The Nigeria intervention movement is, for example, we are emphasizing the name Third Force. It's under that name that we are going to try to coalesce everybody. Not because the Third Force on its own has any particular significance as a name, but because we don't want any one person to call himself a coalition. By the way, there are 2 coalitions of Nigeria movement. Yes,
we're coming there, but we have Ajibola on the line. Hello, Ajibola. Go ahead with your contribution.
Hello?
Yes, go ahead with your contribution.
Hello?
We can hear you. Go ahead with your contribution.
Hello? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Go ahead with your contribution, Ajibola.
Okay, thank you. I want to contribute to the discussion you are talking about the coalition of Obasanjo and some other guys like Donald Duke.
All right, I guess Ajibola is off the line, but as soon as you can call us back so we have your contribution.
So could I end this?
Yes, quickly.
Now, the fact we are not averse to President Obasanjo's intervention. In fact, we welcome it because it means, like Jaye rightly said, they recognize that there's fire on the mountain. But we also recognize that this could be an attempt to truncate the masses' original and unmanipulated attempt to free Nigeria and change Nigeria for the good and betterment of the people. Because when political bigwigs, big monies, and ex-generals come in, they are representing the same old force.
Okay.
This is a new force of the younger people, supported by a few of us old people, but who genuinely want change for the people.
Before I come to you, Jai, we have Suleiman call on the line. Go ahead with your contribution, Suleiman. Suleiman, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Go ahead, quickly.
Good afternoon, you all.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, exactly what the country. Yeah, I'm there. I'm connected. Please, good afternoon, all. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, please, my contribution, I want to make Nigeria realize that. Yes, my contribution. I'm hearing you. That what they are coming to us is a lie, it's just a fake. You cannot do anything without the elders. Elders must be there. The point is that they want the power and they want to get to power, and they are bringing their own system to us for us to embrace. We cannot embrace it.
All right, thank you for your contribution. And then when next you intend to call, turn down the volume of your TV set.
I am 64 years old.
I
am an elder.
I actually think
You want to say something?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. I mean, I was going to say that for me and for us, Nigerians have been organizing. Okay? A lot of Nigerians have been organizing for decades.
Are you part of any of these coalitions?
Yes, I am organizing.
Of a lot.
Yes, I am organizing at the moment. I just mentioned Take Back Nigeria movement. Okay?
Revive Nigeria.
There are so many of the Nigerians have been organizing, and that and there are quite a number of these organizing efforts that are independent of this establishment. And for me, really, the difference is that we need everybody, okay, from every sector, but for a movement that is going to be viable in emancipating Nigerians, it's simply at this point in time in our history has to be an anti-establishment movement. And the establishment defined as people who have played significant roles in our history, in getting us into this mess over the years. And so I would be very, very wary of all these coalitions that parade the same, elements. The fact is that Nigerians should understand that they can actually do this themselves, and that if they outsource their own liberation and emancipation to certain people somewhere, then they would never really get, the liberation that they deserve.
I'll still come back to you on something, but we have Lawrence on the line calling from Ogun State. Lawrence, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Go ahead with your contribution.
Yeah, my contribution is that if what we have now, Nigeria is not satisfied, the instrument to change the government is by voting. Now, we are not paying attention to what is strategical. This last week, I live at Magboro. I want to transfer my voting PVC to where I live now. I've done it 6 months ago. I went to Ode local government in Ogun State. If you got there, you see thousands of people who want to register. Only one a laptop they are using. They told me that the card is not ready. Now, millions of Nigeria, they want to register. Nobody is paying attention to rubbish the INEC is doing. Nobody pay attention. Since January last year that they say they're continuing registration. You get there, 1,000 people are queuing down. Nobody. And what are the instruments that we're going to use to vote? That's number one. The last one I want to say, if we have intervention, who is coming now to complete with the present president? If he's contesting, the person will come out. We shouldn't say we are if we bring thousands of interventions, if you don't have electoral value within the constituencies,
Thank you for your contribution. He has made some really valid points that has to be taken into consideration. The challenges that people face when it comes to registration, which has to be dealt with as quickly as possible. And then he's talking about the candidates, having electoral value. And I'm sure these coalitions are looking, this is something that has been looked at within the coalition.
Yes. The Nigeria intervention movement, the nucleus of the third force, is already about to roll out what we intend to do concerning INEC. We have taken a special note of INEC's calculated disinterest in registering. How
do you mean disinterest? The INEC has come up with the time frame for the elections, and does that show disinterest?
If I roll out, if I pass a menu around with tantalizing dishes listed on it, and I cannot put the food on the table, they don't amount to the same thing. Food is what you want, not the menu. They've rolled out the timetable, yes, but as the man just said, it wasn't me, but that's what we've noticed. At every registration point, they either have nobody or they have one or two people with faulty equipment or no power and so on. This is, as a person who has been involved with the elections since 1983, when I was Alhaji Umaru Dikko's aide, I know Tammy, whatever. I know that that is one of the ways you use to manipulate elections. You disenfranchise certain people. Even it's done in America, and even in America they're complaining. The disenfranchisement of the black vote. Right. What you do is you put in place systems that seem innocuous, but are very calculated to make sure that some people are not allowed to have access to voting. That's one. Two, candidates. Right now, we have not got any, well, we can't talk about candidates before we talk about aspirants. What NIM has put out, and we will make it universal very soon, is what we call an oath or a contract with the Nigerian people. A list of criteria. Every aspirant must be asked to say that, yes, one, he will support restructuring. Two, he will support enablement of more jobs being created, an environment that enables more jobs creation.
All right.
For example, those things have to be done, and we will go about doing them systematically. We're not going to be rushed. We know what strategic plans and programs we have in place, and we are not going to be stampeded by an Obasanjo registration movement in Iwe-Iroyin.
All right. Let me bring Jai in now. Where Nigerians have heard different promises, and stemming from what Tony has said, there has to be an oath. But then, people make promises, swear an oath, and then decide to do something else. Doesn't that happen? Now, the place of interest is where I'm coming, is what I'm talking about now. How is it possible where these coalitions come together, everybody has their personal interest? Because like some persons have said, these coalitions are made up of people who are disgruntled that their interest wasn't served and all of that. So they are coming up with all of this. How do we do away with that to focus on the Nigerian people who are meant to be the interest of any aspirant?
Okay. But I'll very quickly say something about INEC and the continuous voters registration. So we have until December for the continuous voters registration. Our duty is to continue to urge people to go out to get registered and to report like he did, to report the challenges that they face and to raise their voices. I mean, if you actually have 1,000 people there, okay, who want to register and there is no equipment or only one equipment, I'm sure that if 1,000 people raise their voice to the nearest INEC location around them, we are going to start seeing some changes, because we really need to become very active. It's not just there's a sense in which even going to register may be a passive action. Yeah. We need to become very active in doing this. It's your right, it's your duty, it's your duty, it's your right to be registered, and you should claim that right. Yeah. Then the second thing is that we should also not forget, like you mentioned it, part of the challenges of INEC is also part of the political calculations of the elites, of the establishment. Okay? So, for INEC's budget is still being debated. Yes. You have to release, and the elections are going to be in February, just in 12 months. Yeah, and we are still debating that. Even if it's to approve something in the interim for them to do what is basic and needed. And so we also need to put pressure on the politicians, on the National Assembly, that they should do the needful, because INEC is not going to function without resources. Definitely. And human resources would also be paid. Sure. So if you say INEC has only one person, that's what they can pay for right now, and they need probably 6 persons at a point. So we need to factor all, and so put that pressure on people so that this is done. Now let's get back to aspirants and and focusing on Nigeria and the rest of that. What we have done, and like you said, I mean, NIM started about June. We started as Protest to Power movement since 2012, since the Occupy Nigeria. Transformed into Take Back Nigeria September last year. So long before their interventions, the coalitions for Nigerians were coming in. Long before that, Nigerians have been organizing. And when we started, one of the first things that we did, because one of the things that was missing in 2015 was that people came and they promised change. But there was nothing, nowhere, no strategy document where you could find that change defined in terms of what their vision was, what their focus was. I mean, of course, and as part of change, they promise so many things, restructuring. But what do you mean by restructuring? Yes. Because there are different versions and meanings of restructuring, Sure. So one of the things that we have done is, Take Back Nigeria has an election manifesto that was released January this year. Because we want to talk to Nigerians about, specifically, we don't want to be misunderstood. This is what we want to do. These are the challenges of Nigeria. On citizenship, we have a position. On restructuring, we have a position on what we mean by restructuring. And we want Nigerians to engage with this, because that's on the basis of and unless we begin to have conversations like that, that are ideological, that are strategic, that are structured, that are focused actually on our challenges, then people are just going to be, going around and then do what they know best how to do, lie. Yes. It is very easy to lie. Oh. When you are lying, it's very smooth, because you don't need to back lie up with any fact. You just lie and lie. We will do this, we will do this. You can make 1,001 promises when you are lying. But if you are really focused and you are being factual, you can't make 1,001 promises. You'd probably make 5 promises, because you know that is what is realistic and pragmatic. Exactly. And then you would have, your idea of how this can be done. But even that, your idea is just an outline, is a blueprint. You are willing, that's why you're engaging people. You want people to then engage with it to say, okay, look, we don't think that this will work the way you are saying it will work. But at least you will start that. And it takes me back to the issue you mentioned earlier when, when you asked this question and then you responded by saying, nowhere in the world would you have been inaugurated 6 months to form an election. I mean, it tells you how lacking in preparation, our political elites are in terms of it. So for them, it's always about power. It's about power. The focus is on power, taking power. Now, what do you do with power? it's a big issue. And usually it's just about protecting yourself, protecting your access to power and the rest of that. So right now, Nigerians should be very vigilant, ask critical questions. So when somebody comes to you and says, we will do A and B, we will restructure Nigeria, for example, because now restructuring has become a major issue. Politicians are going to be promising restructuring,
yes.
you know? So ask them critically. When you say you will restructure Nigeria, what do you mean by restructuring? What's your own idea of restructuring? And how are you going to get it done? Because there must be a process to get it done, okay? And as a politician who wants to be a leader, you must have a strategy in mind that you are going to deploy if you get into office to do it. So we must ask them those critical questions, you know? You say you want state police, for example, and I've asked that question. I'm a supporter of state police. Sure. I want state police, but I've asked a critical question. If you have a state police in Nigeria today, how are you going to recruit? Is it going to be on the basis of residency or on the basis of indigenship? So is the state police for Lagos going to be a police that is made up of indigenes of Lagos or residents and indigenes of Lagos? And particularly indigenes of Lagos that are resident in Lagos, not indigenes of Lagos that are resident in Kwara State. You know, so those critical questions you need to ask. Okay,
let me bring Tony. Some people believe that the third force is a wild goose chase, like it's such a big dream that can't be realized. Because when you look at the elections in 2015, it was just 2 million votes that made the difference. And people are wondering, okay, you're yet to become a political party, so to speak. So how do you intend to deplete these numbers, garner the votes, and garner the people to be a political force for 2019?
Even though I wouldn't say good, even though a wise general is not going to divulge his strategy and tactics publicly, so as not to alert his opposition as to putting up defenses in advance, I can say a bit. First of all, we keep saying coalition of Nigerian
coalition for Nigeria.
Coalition for Nigerian movement. We forget that there are two.
Yeah.
The day Obasanjo made his speech, the same day, a young man who coincidentally is the leader of the youth in NIM, set up the Coalition for Nigerian Movement. It has at the moment over 20,000 registered members. It is run exclusively by youths, and by youths who are determined not to be compromised in any way, who have even told us in the Nigeria Intervention Movement that if you compromise, we shall move away from you. The Revive Nigeria group.
So they're working together with you?
They're working,
so to speak.
Take Back Nigeria, Revive Nigeria group, and now Coalition for Nigeria Movement, led by Wale Ajani, and others are like-minded bodies.
All right, quickly, because we are running out of time.
We are going to coalesce and then decide on a common strategy outside of whatever efforts we are already starting. I've learned a few things just listening to Jai now that we are going to incorporate into what we're doing. But the longest shot is that we, the people of Nigeria, independent of any old men or founding fathers or young men who are really out to steal money through the old systems, are going to change Nigeria. This country is under a third force.
Quickly now, how is this going to make democracy thrive in the country? Quickly, because we are running out of time.
Democracy is about people. And democracy is about informed conversations, to be able to make informed decisions. And that's exactly what we are triggering. That's what we want to happen. And there is absolutely no way this is not going to consolidate democracy. In fact, it's actually going to lead to the deepening of the democratic process in Nigeria. Let people talk and let people take action.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program today. I must say I have learned a lot, and I'm sure the Nigerians there who are listening are encouraged to go get their PVCs. Thank you once again, and that's how we wrap up the show today. Thanks for watching. I'm Veronica Dan-Ikpoyi. Enjoy your weekend.